Hi, it's me. It's December. Christmas is coming up. And I had another story I thought of. And I thought I'd share it with you. So I spent 10 years, roughly 10 years in the Navy. And I'm a partially disabled veteran. So I had gotten in a car accident, whatever. I go to the VA to get my health care done. And so as I became a barefooter and going everywhere barefoot, I decided that I would go to the VA for my appointments barefoot. And so I was going in, I think it was an annual checkup or something, and went up the stairs and I passed a custodian on my way to the desk to check in. And he's like, "You can't be barefoot in here." And I knew differently. And I said, "No, VA doesn't have anything against its veterans going barefoot." So then I checked in, and that was all good and fine. And I went and sat down to wait to get called on. And anyways, a little bit later, I saw him over talk to the lady that checked me in, and about me being barefoot. Okay, so what? And I went to, I think I brought a book in, so I was reading my book. And anyways, my glasses keep coming down. Anyway, so I'm reading my book. And next thing I know is I have two ladies from the front office that had come in to come over to me. And they asked me if I was okay. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'm fine." And they were asking me about me being barefoot. And I guess with veterans having PTSDs and all kinds of other issues, they didn't know if I was having some kind of mental breakdown or some other issue. So I get that. But I'm like, no, I'm barefoot for my health and well-being. I find it much better for me. And I said, "I've been coming barefoot here for a little bit, you know." And I said, and I also said, and I was nice about it. You got to be nice with it, whenever you get confronted. And I said, from all the research I've done from the VA and the VA hospitals, there's nothing written that says that I can't come to my appointments without shoes, being barefoot. But if you could find something that says I really need to have shoes on, that I could see, and then I'll comply. And they were pleasant, and they offered me a pair of socks with the little rubber dots on the bottom that supposed to help you keep traction or whatever. But they did. They offered me that, and I said, "No, obviously I'm a barefooter. I don't want anything on my feet." And so they took that and left, and they never came back. They never came back with anything. And so a little while later, I get called. The nurse came out, and or the physician assistant, whichever they are. She came out and got me. And then, so they take you in to an area, and then they're gonna scale you and write on your chart or whatever. But as we're walking to go to get scaled, the nurse is telling me how she wishes she could be barefoot. So I get that in the VA. I get that in the VA. I got some other stories. But anyway, so I went in and did the doctor's appointment. The doctor never said anything about being barefoot, take the blood pressure and all this other stuff, checked you out, and off I went. There was another time I was going in for a scan, and I was they're doing all this construction in the hospital. I'm trying to find where I need to go to get this scanned. But anyways, I passed an office that had I don't know what they were, 3 nurses, 3 staff, a doctor, who knows. But there was 3 of them. But as I was walking by, they stopped me because I was barefoot, right? But it wasn't negative. They stopped me because they thought that was so cool, and they wanted to talk to me about being barefoot. So that's at the VA center, or the Veterans Administration hospital. So I've had no problems in there, And I went to, I don't know how many appointments barefoot, and it's almost every time. I had a colonoscopy to do. You're over 62 or 50 or whatever, you know what colonoscopies are. And they find a polyp, you'll be doing it every 2 years until they don't. But anyways, that's another story. But so I go in there with my wife, and we sit down to check in and everything. Of course, I'm barefoot. And so I get taken back to where I got to change. And I have another story on that one. Anyways, where I got to change, and I'm changing everything. And of course, this nurse is doing all this to check me in, has to talk to me about the barefoot thing and how she wished she could do it, and all this other stuff. And man, I just get it over and over and over and over again. Another story real quick. Hopefully this won't turn you off. But I was getting some hemorrhoids worked on. And I've inherited it. My family had, my dad and all of them had terrible hemorrhoids. But anyway, so I'm in there to get them worked on. And the first time I went to get them worked on, there's a procedure where they go up and put rubber bands on them, basically. So it cracks me up. Is they have you go into the and it's not like an overnight stay. It's just an office deal, you know. So you go into the room where the bed is and everything, where they work on you, the surgical thing, and they have you get naked, which is fine, I get it, but then they give you this robe that has no back, you know, to it. You know, they don't have any back to it. You know, it's 2 sleeves in the front. So they give you this robe, and when they come in, they're going to have you bend over this you know, examining bed thing, and so you're only half laying on it, and the guy sitting back behind your behind, and he's going to do all the rubber banding of the hemorrhoids. So I'm looking at the nurse, looking at this robe, and I'm like, what good does this do me? You know, laying on the bed, what, I cover you don't see my arms? I said, what good does it do me? So I didn't even put it on. I just did the thing naked because they were going to see it. They were going to see everything anyway. So I just thought that was so funny. But anyways, I know some other barefooters that go to the VA all the time. Barefoot, never had a problem. So the VA is a cool system. They don't, you know, oppress us in that arena. But anyway, just a story about my VA experiences. I'm Lane, the Nebraska Barefoot Guy. Please subscribe here to follow videos of this, that, and the other thing. And I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, the Nebraska Barefoot Guy, there too. So you can follow me there as well. Anyways, thanks for your time. And if I don't see you before then, have a Merry Christmas. Bye.